is the network service of the NTA.
Thanks for joining us there, and for me every day is a miracle because I woke up, and if you did same, of course, you're up and you're watching me. It simply means that you are also sharing in the miracle of the new day, and a new day pertains new hope for all of us. Yesterday, a lot of people wrote into us asking one question or the other. Some were around the neighborhood of does COVID-19 really exist? Well, the answer is yes. And we have a doctor joining us later to talk about not just the fact that it exists, but then taking you on a road trip of how it enters your body. The program is Weekend Deal. I am Elizabeth, but I also want to address a question that came yesterday. Someone said that coronavirus is not a death sentence. I totally agree with you. It is not a death sentence. But yesterday, as at this morning actually, we have recorded 176 deaths, and we have about 1,472 people recovered, meaning that we have potentials for recovery. But the question is, do we really want to go to any form of sentence, death or not, around the coronavirus? The answer is no. So here on Weekend Deal, we'll be looking at how we will ensure that we completely flatten the curve. We don't want it around. Whether or not we get to recover, it affects us one way or the other. Health, economy, social impact, emotional. We can't, talk and say, okay, we've done enough. We will continue to shout it because it doesn't move truly until we move. It means that we are where do I start from? The bicycle, the Okada, the keke napep, the regular car, the truck, the trailer, whichever one you call yourself, but you're the transporter for the virus, meaning that we must stay clean. Now, I'm talking about COVID-19. We've talked about it a long time up until now, and a lot of people are still asking questions that you ordinarily will assume shouldn't come up, but then we all have a different level of perception, understanding, if you choose to call it that. We're going to move around the country to find out level of compliance to rules and regulations within the states, and then things are rising from the pandemic. Today, Francis took his time to give us a beautiful background to kickstart the show. Let's see it.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to spread across the world, we are facing multiple new stresses, including physical and psychological health risk and economic vulnerability. Also, as Nigeria observes the easing of the lockdown in some states, it is pertinent that the rights of citizens must be respected and protected, including the right to health care, security and access to sufficient food and water.
What are human rights? Human rights are those things that inhere in you by the mere fact that you are a human being. What is COVID-19? It's just a viral infection which does not make you not to be a human being. So, whether there is COVID-19 or no COVID-19, whether there is emergency as a result of COVID-19, their humanity still remains. So there must be human rights. To some extent, rights may be affected. But there are certain rights that cannot be touched because of COVID-19.
While acknowledging the size of the challenge and efforts made by authorities to fight COVID-19 across the country, there are reports of violation of human rights in the process of ensuring compliance with the lockdown.
We're monitoring human rights violations during the COVID-19 period, and we realize that the right to life, is affected. A lot of people have been extrajudicially executed by the law enforcement agents while trying to regulate COVID-19. The issue of extortion has also manifested.
While some citizens' rights have been trampled upon, some security agents have also been assaulted, so there is need for collaboration by all. However, government has released guidelines for the easing of the lockdown ranging from public places to markets and offices. Notwithstanding, we still see people who have no business on the road, thus constituting traffic gridlock.
The law is very clear. If you violate the lockdown, there is a process for you to be made accountable. For instance, there are mobile courts that say if you violate the lockdown, you are taken to a mobile court. They try you and sentence you. It doesn't authorize the law enforcement agent to on his own decide to start torturing you, start doing frog jump on you, start telling you to roll in the gutter.
While COVID-19 has brought the world to its knees, the pandemic is impacting women and men differently. Gender inequalities are typically worsened by crisis, and the COVID-19 is no different, as women are hit harder by its effects.
It was a big challenge during this period of the lockdown. We experienced quite some increase in the number of domestic violence cases we got, and we are not surprised about that because the demographics had changed. In the morning, the children are back; they are no longer going to school. The man cannot go out to go and do his barrow work. The woman cannot go to market to sell his akara, and the small food in the house is exhausted. There's no money to buy more, and the woman is demanding that we need to cook food for the children. The children are crying for food. The man is angry that he has been locked down, and he's trying to explain to the wife. The wife is not understanding. The next thing is he raises his hand on the woman, right? It's not the fault of the woman, but the woman cannot control herself, seeing her children crying for hunger, and is not able to provide.
As we all work towards combating this pandemic, security agencies must adopt a right-respecting approach and not abuse their powers.
The proper name should not even be isolation center, it should be treatment center, because that terminology, isolation center, is stigmatizing in a way. So the protocols and the security agencies who are trying to make sure that you keep the protocols are your friends, because they want you to attain the highest standard of medical health, the highest standard of opportunity to live and be able to survive this pandemic. But at the same time, we are saying it is not because you are doing a very important thing to the citizens by trying to help them to observe the protocol. That is not why you should forget that they have rights. They do have rights, and we insist that what is sustainable is a security system that will protect the people as well as respect their rights.
Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, so submit yourself for testing if need be. Take responsibility and stay at home. Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on COVID-19 and matters arising.
Thank you, Francis, for that beautiful background, and I don't need to add anything else, but I know that by the end of today, a lot of things will be unfolded. But I keep wondering, a man who goes out to say to a woman, I love you, be my wife, eventually you decide to beat that woman. I don't get it. Or even you go out, a man asks you, will you be my wife? A woman, you say yes. Tomorrow you start abusing the same man with the same mouth you used to say, I love you, I will marry you. It doesn't add up. All right, our feedback lines are there for you to write in. We know that Dr. Titus Ibekwe is already in the house. He will be taking us on the road trip of how this thing gets into your body and subsequently how to control it. But before we bring him in, we still have a bit of packages. Let's go join Suleiman, who incidentally is my producer today, to get to find out challenges of the status quo in Nigerian legal system.
In response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Chief Justice of the Federation, Tanko Mohammed, on 24th March 2020, directed all heads of courts to suspend court sittings for an initial period of 2 weeks, except in matters that are urgent, essential, or time-bound according to the extant laws. While this is aimed at curbing the spread of the virus, it also exposes the limitations of the legal system where the physical attendance of the parties, counsel and witnesses is required. Today, due to movement restriction in the country, many litigants are unable to continue or conclude cases, and consequently, a lot of legal obligations are left pending. Detainees are being kept in custody indefinitely, even as inmates are being pardoned to prevent congestion of correctional facilities.
It has become practically impossible. For instance, the other day we had a few of our colleagues who had a matter in Abuja, and there was a lockdown. They couldn't travel from Mina. They had to get the relevant passes and all that to be able to come, which necessitated rescheduling of the hearing. So assuming that matter had 2 days, and then 1 day was gone in the lockdown, the parties will be affected.
Hearings, judgments and rulings to determine people's liberty or liability have been challenged. Equally affected are the lawyers who depend on court practice and appearances for their income.
So if anything, the justice sector indeed is badly affected, and then the call for immediate aggressive action for the purpose of containing the future as it relates to service delivery within the context of the justice sector had indeed manifested.
Adapting to the current climate, many courts in various countries are using technology to hear cases, and judgments are being delivered and enforced. Some Nigerian courts have already adopted this new normal.
Our aim has never been just because of COVID. Even under normal circumstances, the old normal, still there is no need to delay cases because of just simply somebody appearing in the court to open his mouth to talk. That he can do from anywhere in the world.
However, there is a need to start a new conversation to resolve some perceived conflict between technology and the law, most especially after a virtual hearing took place on Zoom, a video conferencing platform where a Nigerian was found guilty and sentenced to death.
The conflict I do have with that Zoom that was deployed is that our laws require that the accused person must be present at his trial throughout. The sentencing was part of the trial, it's the continuation of the trial. And to me, that's a violation of the constitutional provision that makes it mandatory for the accused person to be present in court. Now, it did not say present via electronic means. So until we amend our laws, now we have practice direction. It's a different scenario. Where you have practice direction, there are instances where it is taken as a way to implement what the law says. But until we do fundamental amendments to our laws, the criminal jurisprudence will not easily accommodate sentencing someone or trying someone by Zoom.
We have no choice. We have to go the way of virtual court hearings. But what they are being asked to do is, how do we go about it seamlessly? How do we go about it without violating the laws? Do we need to change some rules? As we start to implement it, we will say that we'll perfect it, we'll fine-tune it. And then it's going to save us a lot of money. Building of courtrooms, traveling. Sometimes lawyers travel away from Lagos. They come to Abuja, the case is not going on.
Time is ripe already that we should be seen to have passed the stage of manual filings of court proceedings. Time has passed that we should be seeing, we should allow ourselves to be conducting physical trials even in respect of simple matters like hearing of applications. Time has passed where we should forget about scheduling of cases, manual scheduling of cases. So there are a lot of things that we can bring about within the context of justice administration.
The outbreak of coronavirus pandemic has highlighted the growing necessity for the Nigerian legal system to embrace technology. This leverage can only improve the legal system's capacity as well as facilitate fair and speedy administration of justice in the country.
Okay, it's good to see coronavirus, bringing about certain nice changes. I know those days the judges, when the proceedings are going on, they are busy eating like that. They hardly accepted anything. But COVID-19 is resetting a lot of our lifestyle. It's good, and particularly I know that the Senate introduced, or they're about to introduce, bill to legalize virtual court proceedings. That will be quite interesting. So we will have to it has a way of reducing a lot of criminal, cases still pending, because it will be done quite easily. But then looking at isolation center, COVID-19 isolation center, what's actually going there? What's it like? What is the impact like? Let's see, psychological impacts of isolation, within this COVID pandemic period. We're taking a trip to Kaduna to get that done.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is a pandemic ravaging the global community with more than 4.18 million cases recorded. In Nigeria alone, the NCDC has reported more than 4,700 confirmed cases. Having recorded over 100 suspected cases of COVID-19 in Kaduna State, many have attributed the attempt by those in isolation to escape to the reaction of the society towards those infected, signaling rising instances of stigmatism.
Once you are isolated, you feel stigmatized. So they run away from these isolation centers. Government needs a lot of work to educate, synthesize the general public about why they should be isolated. It is not a matter of being isolated means that's the end of your life.
Because it's a normal sickness, when you come out, go and tell other people so that they too will learn how they can protect themselves from catching such a disease, because it's deadly.
I think that is needless. This COVID-19, as people look at it, is not a death sentence. We have seen more severe cases of illnesses, but this particular one, I don't think people should run away. If you have it, fine, you remain isolated, and the NCDC will do the needful, and with time you are going to get better.
Coronavirus shouldn't be something that you should be scared of, maybe trying to hide it because of what people might say. This person has coronavirus, so avoid him, avoid her, because you might contact it. Yes, you should take precautions, but not to distance yourself from that person, not to take away the person's, take away the person's happiness because of the stigma. They run away from isolation center because they believe that if people find out they are there, automatically they know that this person might have coronavirus, so people tend to avoid them.
We who are dampening their spirit is very wrong. Very, very wrong in the first place, that any sickness you have, if somebody tells you you are going to die tomorrow, no matter the medication they give you, you are dying, because already they have dampened your spirit and the fear is in you and you are going.
Could the science of human psychology be a solution to these bottlenecks in the fight against COVID-19? What are the requisites when isolating people?
Actually, the center is not supposed to even start operating without a psychologist. I mean, yes, it's a virus that is known. Everybody has heard about it and all that. But don't forget that for every health situation, there is a psychological trauma that comes with it. And so at every point of medicine, there should be psychological intervention. There should be somebody counseling somebody. So yes, all of these isolation centers should have stationed in them psychologists, people who will be able to counsel people and tell them that, look, this is not a death sentence, you can come out of this, you can do this. People who will encourage people to stay alive.
Are the isolation centers meeting the standards to trace, keep, test and treat those who contract the virus?
Except for what you get on social media, and as a social scientist, I don't always believe everything I see on social media. Yes, there have been videos going around, a lot of them have gone very viral, saying that the conditions are bad, the whatever. I've not been to any, so I wouldn't be able to say yes, that the conditions are bad.
COVID-19 cases are still on the rise in Nigeria and also in the global community, and there is an urgent need to imbibe and adhere to the measures taken by those countries who saw and conquered the menace of the dreaded virus.
All right, it's still weekend here, and I'm getting filters that some human activists are insisting that the name should change from isolation centers to treatment center. The name isolation center, according to them, not according to Elizabeth, is already, frightening, intimidating, and all that. Well, there is need for us to look at the psychological balance of people in there, because it is important. Like the woman said, once you're told that, already you're fidgeting, and you need something done, and done urgently. Sitting with me in the studio is the chairman of the continuing medical, learning here in Nigeria. That's Nigerian Medical Association. He's also a specialist, a surgeon in ENT. That's the ear, nose, and throat. I did tell you earlier on from yesterday that he will be joining us here to talk a whole lot about COVID-19. Join me as I welcome Professor Titus Ibekwe. Nice to have you join us.
Happy to be here.
So I will quickly start my conversations with you from a question somebody raised today, but we had lots of questions like this yesterday. It's from Michael Olutu from Benue State. He says, why is it that NDDC cannot show us the COVID-19 patients? Why are they, do they not know that these people can serve as a model for us? We are always advised not to spread fake news. If they do not show us COVID-19 patients, then we will not believe coronavirus is real. The people who are contacting the virus, are they ghosts? I guess this is just trying to tell us that unless he sees like Thomas, he will not believe. But then I'm sure you have an answer for that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Michael is, Michael's view is the view of a lot of people also out there in the society. Why not make the identity of these people open so that people will know that it is true? The doubting Thomases will come to accept. However, in medicine, there are ethics, rules and regulations that guides medical practice. That's what we call patient's confidentiality. So it is against the patient's ethics for you to go announcing to the public what a patient has. It's unacceptable, it's not done. Except if the patient voluntarily, wants to do that, to come tell the public that this is what I have, this is how far I have gone, in order to encourage the populace, to educate them, because it's like doing it practically here. And that's why up to today we still encourage our patients to please come out on your own, out of your own volition, in order to educate the public. I give you some instances. As I'm speaking here, at the time I faced my own scare. All right, I was in a meeting where 3 or 4 people tested positive, and I was taken away. That was at the initial onset of this illness. It was announced to my colleagues across the country. They were praying for me, calling. I waited until everything cleared, and I came out clean. And I know that very prominent people in the society in this country have also done something similar. coming out to declare that they are positive for COVID virus. It's not a death sentence, but that they've had a scare, whereby they have to go on self-quarantine, self-isolation, as the case may be. And at the end of the day, you come out, the psychological support is very important. Once your loved ones are giving you the psychological support, and your own mental strength is also boosted. You're living right, doing light exercises, doing all that you're supposed to do in moderation, balanced diet. The tendency is that your immune system will build up and fight against the virus, and you shed it off and come out clean.
And I was going to ask you, how did you cope with the scare? I mean, getting yourself locked up, even though you ended up testing negative, getting yourself locked up for 2 weeks. I know you have children, you have a wife. You weren't really seeing them, even though you were communicating. Some people have told me they contemplated this, they contemplated that. How was your mindset? I know you're a doctor, but what's the mindset? What was your mindset like?
Living in uncertainty of what tomorrow will bring is very much there. Thinking of even the worst case scenario, the adverse consequences, what could happen. But again, knowing full well how the progression of the disease, pathogenesis of the disease, how it goes, that it's not a death sentence, as has been recapped severally, and again, is an equal opportunity disease. So it's a disease of second chance. So you can give it all sorts of names. And also knowing full well that, again, even the fatality rate, that's the death rate, is not really so high, so to speak, when you consider the number of people that are capable of, recovering by just doing the right thing. And being in isolation being one of the key things, at least to protect the loved ones around you, protect the society, and even concentrate on yourself. While I was there, I wrote a lot of papers then.
Okay. Still on this COVID.
Yes, and I have published some papers of COVID-19. That's why today I speak very boldly, despite the fact that I am the chairman of continuing medical education, so it's my responsibility to educate my colleagues across the country and Nigerian populace. But this brought me even closer, face to face with COVID, and acquired a lot of knowledge, experience about that, and that is one of the reasons why you see me speaking in every forum, radio, television, just as we're talking now. So I see it as a priority to educate Nigerians, and also to share my own experiences, to encourage them. That is something that we're capable of doing.
All right.
We can get
so Michael and every other person has been asking, is COVID-19 real? And you want to see evidence. Dr. Professor here seated with me is here, and he's gone through the routes, and he's back, he's healthy, he's very okay. So now you know that it's real, and it's not a death sentence. It can actually happen. Now, Doctor, I'd like to know, I told my friends who are watching us as we speak now, that you will take us on a road trip of how it gets to the body. Could you kindly do that?
Yeah,
okay.
with all pleasure. Well, first is to say that coronavirus is not a new virus per se. The coronavirus has been with mankind for over half a decade now. It is responsible for over 50% of the upper respiratory tract infections that we suffer. And it has been known to be existing in animal kingdom for over a century, rather. That's 100 years. So, and for over 50 years among human beings. And the reality is that the coronaviruses, the illnesses associated with it are usually mild illnesses that will come and get cleared on its own. Although people who are compromised may succumb to it. But as we know, just at the eve of 2019 in December, so this new strain, this new variant, just came up, which is the SARS coronavirus 2. because hitherto we've known of coronavirus 1. So apart from SARS disease and MERS disease, these are the only severe illnesses that have been identified with coronavirus, but not as severe as what we're discussing today, which is the coronavirus 2, when you talk of the rate of infection. And it's a virus. For that reason, virus outside the body is inanimate. It doesn't have life when it is outside our body. And again, it's a special virus because it's an RNA virus, which means it has, and also an envelope virus. So it has a special protective covering and casing around it, which is basically fat. And that's what makes it vulnerable. So it's not even as resistant as most other viruses that are known to, medicine. And that's why simply washing your hand with soap, we know that soap has the ability of dissolving fat or destroying fat, isn't it? Or exposing it to adverse situation that will destroy that protective cover. Once the fat leaks out, then you have inactivated it completely.
Okay, because I know when I have grease or oil on my plate, if I wash it with regular water, it doesn't go away. But the minute I add any detergent or soap, no matter the type, it just moves away. So when we wash our hands with soap and water, that's the same thing we're doing.
We're trying to mimic such a situation. So you end up destroying it. The same thing with alcohol, So it has the ability of destroying this organism. Fine. Now, basically, it's a respiratory tract infection. The reason is that the upper respiratory tract, the nose, the throat especially, within there you have two types of epithelium. Epithelium is the skin, the special skin that lines there. Okay, you have the one we call the respiratory epithelium, and you have the one we call the olfactory epithelium. Okay, all within the nose, and within this respiratory epithelium lies the receptors that this virus easily adapts or fits into. Okay.
When you say receptors, what does that mean?
Yeah, receptor means, I'll try to illustrate that. That's a definite pattern that another constructed shape can easily fit into. And once it fits into that, other sequence of activities can start. All right, so it's like you have my hand, which is like a screw, and you have another shape like cup. Okay. It fits in. Okay. Once it fits in, chains of reaction starts. Okay, so angiotensin converting 2 receptor is present in abundance within that respiratory epithelium, and that is where the coronavirus S protein, the spike proteins. You look at the shape, you see it with projections. So that's the spike protein. So that spike protein fits in there perfectly on that receptor. And once that happens, it triggers off chains of reactions. So there are enzymes that are called the transaminases, which also are secreted in this part of our body, this respiratory tract. So once this fitting happens, it triggers the secretion of those enzymes. The enzymes will now break the S protein into bits, into pieces. And once that happens, this virus gets activated, becomes alive, and starts multiplying in its numbers, replicating in hundreds, in thousands, in millions.
And that's when we start to have fever, cough, and all that.
We'll get to that point. So,
I feel like I'm a medical student now.
So the first thing is when this happens, so this organism will heavily populate these areas. And that's why it is the site where the sample is taken from.
Okay.
When NCDC and other agents, they come to, test us, that's where they go to and take the sample from, because this organism is heavily populated there. So when this happens, the olfactory epithelium is lying within the respiratory epithelium, just like covering it, just like an island. All right. So you see that happen. What is going to follow now is that this organism is capable of massively attacking or populating that olfactory epithelium. And the olfactory epithelium is the one responsible for our ability to smell.
Smell,
yeah,
okay.
For you to perceive smell around. So when that happens, if that is populated, it attacks that area, then the sense of smell goes. All right, that's why today we know that sense of smell is one of the very early symptoms that some people can even envisage or they can feel, before other sequence of reactions or modes of presentation or symptoms start happening. So once this happens or does not happen, the next step now is you have infection, your body will start reacting. Okay, these organisms, they increase in their number. Remember, we breathe in and out, it will start moving down. Now we'll start having sore throat. It gets to the level, it's irritating the airway, we'll start coughing. Because it's an infection, we'll start running fever. So it can migrate all the way to the lower respiratory tract, even into the lungs. So it gets to the lungs, another sequence and chains of reactions happen there. Breathing difficulties sets in. And when all these are going on, the body is also fighting back, all right? Because the level of immunity is what determines the sequence and progression of any illness when you get exposed. So those who have very high immune level, their immune system will be able to fight back, win this battle, and their system will start shedding off the viruses. And within a period of an average of 2 to 14 days or slightly more than that, their system can completely shed off the virus. And you test, this person becomes negative. In some other people, that their immune system ab initio has been very, very strong and very, very high. Okay, this infection comes, all these things I described will happen, multiplication in number, but they will not manifest any illness.
Those are the ones that say...
The asymptomatic individuals, they're asymptomatic, so they don't have any symptom. Well, because this organism still keeps multiplying, if they breathe out, they sneeze, they cough out, they expel this organism, so they're still capable of infecting people around them. But they will not manifest with any sign or symptom of this illness. And over time, their immune system will be able to arrest the entire organism, they will still shed it off. And whereas those whose immune system are very, very weak, because they have some other serious underlying illnesses, their system cannot cope, cannot fight back. And the viruses will overwhelm and take over. Those are those that you see that can, we talk of fatality, who may die or succumb or get seriously injured in the process. But by and large, about 3 to 5% on average. So give and take, 100 people gets infected, there's only about 3 to 5 under normal circumstances that may die of this illness.
All right, doctor, it's been a very, detailed education of how this thing works. I am wondering if at the end of this discussion you issue me a certificate, because I've been listening like a student and asking all the right questions. Okay, Nigerians are also asking their questions, but before we begin to roll out the questions, let's go on a break now. Sure, it is Weekend Deal, and the Professor of Medicine is still seated here with me, Dr. Titus Ibekwe. I choose to call him Doctor because I've always done that for a long time. And I promise that we will be, taking the voice of a people when we return. I'll quickly go to the question. One of them here, he didn't write his name, but he says, should surgical masks be used, twice? Can you use a surgical mask twice?
This is an excellent question. We're having very brilliant questions coming this morning. Well, we know that mask is something that is even passed as a law that everybody must be using in our country. And we're anticipating that this type of question may come, and we brought different types of masks to also show our listeners. But the straight answer to that question is no. Surgical mask is use and discard, temporary mask. So these are the type of masks that we have. Let me start with the surgical that he talked about. This is a typical surgical mask used by surgeons. So you cover with it. Up here has like a metal that I used to shape your nose so that it will fit in very well as we want it to be. That's this way. We press here. It stays. So these are what surgeons use. So once we finish operating, we remove and you discard.
But I'm not a surgeon, so
whatsoever, because the function is to filter the air within the environment and trap organisms, including bacteria, on this surface.
Okay.
So when you finish using, you discard, because you can't wash this, you can't re-iron or do anything or recirculate. It is not reusable. So it's use and discard. Okay, the same thing with the N95. These are the different types of N95 mask. But N95 is basically used for an environment that has this propensity of high level of infection. That's why in isolation centers, as we're talking right now, or even within and around where you manage people who have COVID-19, this is what the medical personnel use. Okay, so N95, the N there is non-oil. All right, 95 means that it has capability of filtering out microorganisms, be it bacteria, be it virus, be it fungal, and dust, up to 95% in the air. And when you wear it, you see that it's more uncomfortable than using this. Okay, the medical mask also filters, but not up to the level of
this one.
The N95, which is strictly should be used within this environment for this reason, to protect the medical personnel and the frontliners that are managing cases. And all these are disposable masks. So you use, you discard.
Okay.
Then, now we have come to the homemade mask, the cloth mask, which it is a law in our country today that everybody must wear this when you're moving around. The importance of this is not as protective as the other ones, but the important is that it protects from source infection. We are maintaining physical distancing, and we are talking to people listening to us. Otherwise, if we are close and you are wearing, I am wearing mine, the implication is that you will not discharge whatever thing you have into the environment. So let me pick it up. I will not also do the same. In so doing, we are protecting each other, and we're also conserving our environment and protecting the environment from contaminating it. And there are ways of doing this. You may decide to, double the cloth. If you look at this one, the cloth within is white, the inside one. The one outside has another color. So it's like 2 layers of cloth. And so this is good enough to be used for this purpose.
This type, no. I see people sell on the road. And I've seen a lot of people, when they are buying, they keep testing to see, whether this one doesn't fit my face, this one doesn't match my clothes, stuff like that.
That is dangerous. You don't do that, because you've ended up contaminating it and you're dropping it back. You don't do that at all. It's not a trial and error thing, a fitting thing, you fit and drop. And what our advice is, anybody who is buying from the roadside, ensure that you don't use it until you wash it. You wash, sun it, and you iron. Because the beauty is that this is reusable. Once you return home at the end of your business for the day, with your soap and water, you wash it. Okay? You dry it, iron it, is ready for use the next day.
Oh, that's lovely, because I met somebody who told me that he buys mask every day. Once it's coming out by the junction, he buys. So I tried to educate, but I'm not sure I did a good job.
You have 2, 3, that's fine. So you just wash, iron, you reuse again.
All right, so there are people who are living with some other challenges already, people living with disabilities. And to add COVID-19 to it, it is a huge one for them. Doshima did a good job. She tried to find out how they are coping with the challenges. Let's see this report.
Karamajigi is one of the suburbs where some persons with disabilities dwell. It is located within the FCT. One of the most used phrases in this era of COVID-19 is physical and social distancing. This distance of at least 2 meters between individuals aims to curb the spread of COVID-19. This practice can be very difficult in environments like this, where space is limited, hygiene is lacking, and water a scarce commodity.
It is really difficult, or almost impossible for you to say that you will be observing physical, distancing under those settings. Take for example, that's why in China or maybe London or America, you see the kind of settlement there is really different. That is, the space occupied by person per square meter is actually different. But here you can find a small room and you find about 20 people, living there. So how do you expect 20 people to live in a small room and then still, practice or observe physical distancing? It is just impossible.
In this suburb, where persons with disabilities dwell, life is not funny at all. The Secretary of the Chief of Persons Living with Disability of the 6 area councils of the FCT tells us their ordeal.
The houses we reside are Ashantis, that is bachas, using old zincs, old cartons to just make it like a house. But that cannot contain, because if it is heat too much. If it is cold too much. So we need government to give us a permanent place so that we will have rest of mind.
A physically challenged young man who served as our tour guide took us to the well, and with a broken heart, we saw the state of their only source of water.
In this community, this is about their most active source of water, which is this well. Apart from the well, you have to buy water. And of course, we know how the times are. The boreholes are down, and then the well is also down. These people are crying. They need help. Water is very important.
We spoke to a doctor on the dangers of not observing physical and social distancing and the possible solutions.
These individuals should be tested to make sure that those of them that are living in those clusters are actually free. But if they are tested and then they are saying that they are not tested, then that immediate population can be averted, in the sense that you know that whether they are positive or they are negative. But if they are not tested, you just be there. Should one of them contract the disease because of the limitation of the space or the distance between one person and the other, he is likely and easily can transmit the disease to the next person.
To curtail the spread of COVID-19, which is a war we're all fighting, it is very important that authorities concerned should look into this matter very critical.
Just as we have cries, we have worries, and we need help, so do this set of persons need. They're crying out to us. It's important that they also have a conducive environment to lay their heads.
On this.
It's a weekend here, and Professor Ibekwe is still here. You were just telling me that you want to make a comment on what you just saw.
Yeah, because the disease we are talking about here is disease of nature and nurture. I keep on hammering on this, and we have done a write-up published in a peer-reviewed journal on that. It's a disease of nature and nurture. So you have to look at everything holistically, not just treating the disease alone. You have to look at the people's condition of living to make their life more comfortable. Because if you pass on any rules and regulations which everybody is expected to abide, and you don't create that enabling environment that will encourage people to abide by those rules and regulations, be it lockdown, be it obeying all the simple rules that were talked about, you will see that we're going to all fail flat. Because once it's a holistic disease, it must be eradicated across board among the very rich, the middle class, and the poor. If the poor has it, the rich is not protected.
Definitely. Doctor, a lot of questions came in here for you, but I don't know how to begin to take all of it, but I'll quickly take the one that says, can Professor Ibekwe enlighten us on the treatment he had when he was sick? He will take that later, and probably join it up with someone who says, you need to clear this. Doctor, you mentioned that this disease comes from animals. Which animal in particular? Quickly, we don't have much time.
Just to say that I didn't test positive, and I also just said that I was on isolation, because it was a state of uncertainty. At the end, it was discovered I didn't have the virus, so I wasn't treated per se. But it was having good rest and taking fruits, vegetables, eating right, good exercises, having enough rest that will help you build up your immunity. That is paramount. There is no treatment that is known or acceptable worldwide for coronavirus. It's just supportive care.
And verification.
Yeah, only say I come from animal. We said that coronavirus, the original coronavirus, the mother coronavirus, before this new one that we're having, has been existing and causing illnesses both in animal and in man for like the past 100 years in lower animals, in the past 50 years in man. So this common cold that we have, cough and catarrh, as people commonly call it, that comes and goes, a lot of them are due to coronavirus 1. But the one we are dealing with now is coronavirus 2.
Okay, thank you very much. My time is almost not mine, but if you can do this for me in 30 seconds, I'll be appreciative. What rules do we set as a sequence when we come home? What do we do to ensure that we don't bring virus into our homes?
I think every family should try and set up their own protocol.
Okay,
on what to do, and do it religiously well. The parents who have gone to fend for the family, they are coming back home. So the first thing at your doorstep is consider even the shoes you're wearing. We have said that people should try and have this solution of hypochlorite. I won't promote any, but bleach. The common bleach we use, you have a solution of it. You put it in something that you can use to spray. So yes, you just get to your doorstep, remove your shoes, and spray the shoe with that, especially the under surface that will be matching. So keep it aside. Then you walk in, go straight into your bedroom. Don't allow any of your children to come hugging and greeting. Teach them that should not happen until daddy or mommy has gone into the bedroom and changed. So you walk into the bedroom, wash your hands, very well, change the cloth you're wearing, take your bath. Those clothes should be washed and should not be reused. So you just keep them aside. When you finish taking your bath, you can walk in. And even if you have a door handle, you're coming in and you give signal that you're coming, somebody can open the door from inside so they don't even touch it. My own children, they will carry a can of sanitizer waiting for you. Person, you clean your hand, but if you don't have that, no problem. When you open that, go follow these protocols, then it will help the family.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Titus Ibekwe, for coming in. I so appreciate the education, and we continue to ask you to come and join us at any point in time. We've been speaking with the Professor of Medicine, especially ENT, a surgeon, who is also the chairman of continuing medical education here in Nigeria. And believe you or me, we have learned a whole lot. All right, we should stay alive and ensure that we're safe. If you don't like yourself, there is somebody you love. There are people who love you. There are people who are dependent on you, even if it's just to help them get a cup of water. For those people's sake, I think you should take responsibility and stay safe. Now, I'm talking about taking responsibility. We had a lockdown and a lot of things happened. Let's move to the entertainment industry and get to find out how, the entertainment industry, enjoy their lockdown, so to speak.
The extreme outburst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the entire world is on lockdown as various countries are forced to make their citizens stay at home. Does this situation apply to people in the creative industry?
In the acting industry, for instance, it's a close proximity industry. We all have to be on the same set. and we all have to be close to each other. You know, when the makeup artist is putting on makeup on you, when the sound guy is trying to mic you, trying to get good sound, you know, even the director giving you directions, even being so close to your co-star. It's a close proximity industry, so for as long as there's a pandemic, nobody can really go on set and say 100% that they are sure that they are protected. You know, the only way that this is possible would be if you were to quarantine everybody who's going to be on set, you know, for about 14 days, you know, and then if everybody's fine, then everybody goes on set and then everybody stays in the same place for the duration of the shoot.
In Ghana, in the Kwara region, Easter is a big deal. It's a festival, and every year for days people travel to the eastern region to go and celebrate it. There's paragliding activities, there's music, there's a lot of activity, and it's a good platform for artists to be paid for their performances, for people to sell food and all of that. So we missed that this year because of Corona.
Shola Oyobade, creative director, Fashion's Finest Africa, says some international design brands will be creating virtual fashion shows.
People are not going to be traveling around the world going from one fashion show to another. So the chances are that they will do more virtual fashion shows, such as Yves Saint Laurent. They have already announced that they will be doing a virtual fashion show, and they will not be on schedule in September this season. This is the first time that they've ever done that they've gone off schedule to do their own show, and it will be a virtual show whereby they will hardly have any guests and they will stream it live.
Lots of concerts, movie premieres and fashion shows have been cancelled as the entire world is practicing social distancing.
Can you imagine that over the last 1 month, most of us have been at home, and what have we been wearing? We've not been dressing up, we've not been going out to parties, we've not been ordering clothes, we've just been, as I'm sure like me, t-shirts and a pair of shorts. I mean, I've spoken to a number of women and they said they can't remember the last time they brought out a handbag and a pair of shoes. So it means that this is affecting the industry because people are not buying clothes at the moment.
For most entertainers and celebrities, technology is the saving grace, as everyone has channeled their creativity in using various applications to stay closer to their fans and followers.
The good thing is people have now found creative ways in the midst of all this craziness to still show their craft, and virtual concerts have popped up. We've seen a lot of events now being held virtually. Of course, the impact will not be the same because most of us are people who like to go attend, and even for the people organizing it, in terms of revenue, it won't be the same.
Trends are also emerging daily on TikTok, Zoom, Instagram, YouTube, amongst others. Will these strategies convert to financial returns for these creatives?
People within the industry have taken to social media to find ways of putting their crafts out there, to find ways of engaging with people, and some of them are also making money through platforms like YouTube.
But the streaming platforms, they have a different story to tell, because all we can do really is stay home and be entertained one way or the other. The streaming platforms like Netflix and Roku, I'm sure that they're recording a higher number of subscribers, and downloads and views.
What is the way forward for creatives in the film industry, and will it ever recover?
As it stands now, if we're fighting an enemy we did not understand, I would be worried. But we're fighting a virus. Viruses are transmitted in very predictable ways, and those ways can be controlled. Of course, it would mean we would have to modify the stories that we have. We would have to modify our protocols and processes on set. Yes, we would have to create new ways to even do pre-production and stuff, but that is why we are filmmakers.
It is certain that there is a new order of content management, as this pandemic seems like an eye-opener for most content creators. If you have ever looked the other way about entertainment, now is the time to do yourself a great favor and enjoy the new life.
And the show is Weekend Deals. Unfortunately, I'm being told that my time is up. We will continue to reply you outside of the camera as much as we can. And don't forget, next week we'll bring you another arm of the COVID-19 discussion, and with much more personalities who will be educating us as much as we want. While that is going to happen, I advise you for the next 1 week, whatever it's worth, maintain your social distancing. Wear your face mask, otherwise you'll be arrested. I hear the fine is 5,000 naira. You don't want to lose that kind of money this period. And whatever is worth, wash your hands. Wash it thoroughly. If you must grow nails like I do, whatever you do, wash inside of the nails, wash in between the fingers. Very important. My name is Elizabeth, and my director says I should tell you bye-bye.